there's something I thought would be fun and different. Since I've been doing many Edric games, I decided to play a little Sliver Queen and see how that would go. 5-color control, the classic deck. I have not destroyed the deck, in case you are wondering. I still have it. And my hand will be at the bottom. My opponent playing Damia, Sage of Stone, and my board will be at the top. So I had basically a perfect hand and kept, especially winning the dice roll. What was interesting is in the previous game I was playing the Edric deck, played first turn Elf, second turn Edric. My opponent played second turn Demonic Tutor, looked at his whole deck and conceded. So I decided that was the other reason for playing him again with Queen, so that maybe he wouldn't give up so easily this time, perhaps. So this is my first turn. My opponent leads off with Relga Progenitus, which is good when your opponent's holding Yawgmoth's Woe and Regrowth, but he doesn't know that. And eventually, I've never really had this card be more than an annoyance, just because eventually you've got to sacrifice it, otherwise you're just down a card for a guess. A guess that it might be helpful. So anyway, my opponent plays an Arbor, and I use an end of turn Tithe Trick, where I hold down control, sacrifice my Flooded Strand with control held down so I still have priority, respond to my own Flooded Strand with my Tithe. Tithe resolves with only one land in play against his 2, and I take Plateau and Hallowed Fountain. Then Flooded Strand resolves, and I go ahead and take a Watery Grave. So my turn, perfect draw there, Fact or Fiction. My opponent decides to get rid of Relic. So it's going to do pretty much nothing this game. And gets down with some Greaves. So in response, I cast Fact or Fiction just to create the appearance of digging for an answer, perhaps causing him to split the cards unevenly if one of them had, say, like a Mana Drain or something. So here's the piles here, and he decides to set them up with Stroke and Vess in one pile, Terminus, Swamp, Power Stone in the other one. So Stroke of Genius on its own represents, 4 cards, and then Liliana Vess represents however many she takes, so clearly the 2 pile, which is really more like the 6 pile or something, is the superior pile when I have this much mana in play. Don't need those other cards. And I just let Lightning Greaves resolve. Not going to memory lapse that, especially not when I have a play next turn. So, top decking a Mox Opal. I'm going to go ahead and hide Queen and Damia, and then if it comes up, we'll bring those back up. But this is nice. I get down with Vess, hit his hand for a card, and take an island. Now, if he was playing the other green-blue-black commander, the Mimeoplasm, more than likely Vess right there would have -2, and I would have gone and got myself a Mind Twist, and just went for the whole hand next turn. Because against them, you don't want to really give them one creature in the graveyard, like a it could be like something fat, and then they'll use the rest of their cards to reanimate it, and you have to fight a downhill battle, uphill battle rather. But so what you want to do against them is just destroy their whole hand, and then they lose all their reanimation and reanimation targets, and then from there you just need like one counterspell. Against him though, I thought it made more sense to sort of chop away since his hand was already low with Vess and save the searching, especially since she's going to be taking little hits from Arbor and perhaps another creature depending on what happens. So in his turn he plays Crucible, and that's a perfect lapse target. I don't want to give him the island I just put into his graveyard. And I was hoping he had no play at all, because if he did, then that memory lapse is as good as a Time Walk right there. But he did have this island here, so that's okay. Take another card from his hand and produce a well-pumped Everflowing Chalice, play land, and pick up my little Time Walk. Because now on this turn he's down to 2 cards, so he's going to draw his Crucible, and if he has a land and a play that isn't Crucible, I'm just going to memory lapse it. If he has 2 small plays that aren't important, then I'll just use Vest to deal with him. Either way. So on his turn he plays Crucible, and of course I play Memory Lapse. And since he has no other play except birds, he's down to 1 card, and that's not a threat, so Vess is going to strip away the last card in his hand, and his next card is definitely Crucible. So we know what's coming. So it's almost like +2ing a Jace right there. So, take the last card out of his hand, and then Yawgmoth's Will, play a Swamp from the graveyard. We'll see how I do this. Regrow Memory Lapse, and hardcast Terminus with exactly 2 mana left. So now, I leave the Fact or Fiction and the Power Stone. It's unfortunate I don't get to Fact or Fiction my Fact or Fiction, but as I'm holding a Stroke of Genius and Merchant Scroll for even more card drawing, that just really isn't a big deal. And of course we know what he's going to draw here, and now he's in use or lose mode with Vess. If he holds it, I'm just going to take it out of his hand and Memory Lapse the next thing he casts. So he's got to play it, which means he has to let me Time Walk him. So I get another turn. And then on my turn I draw Muddle, and I start searching with Muddle. Well, I start searching with Vess rather, and then I'm going to stroke into whatever it is that I want. And so my plan here, his top card is Crucible. So my plan here is to go get some land destruction of some sort. I hadn't quite figured out what yet. But I'll go get land destruction, draw some cards off of Stroke of Genius. Probably I'll just get Strip Mine, so I'll draw as many cards as I can off Stroke of Genius, Strip Mine the Harbor, and then he'll draw an uncastable Crucible. And on the following turn, I'm going to Vess the Crucible out of his hand, and then with all the cards in my hand, I mean, at that point it's fairly elementary. Most likely just Merchant Scroll for Mystical Teachings, for Enlightened Tutor, and Enlightened Tutor for Crucible of my own, and put him in a no-win situation. Can't play lands, can't hold cards. But he gives up. He sees the handwriting on the wall, I suppose. So I thought that was a pretty fun game to put up. Memory Lapse there. Basically, really effectively being a 2-mana Time Walk over and over and over again. There just was no coming back from that. So here is the deck as I have it. And I have, as you've seen, added a few more counter spells. I had a conversation with Brian about the Edric deck and not running enough counter spells in that deck in his estimation. Although I haven't completely gone with his suggestions, I do see his point being valid, and decided that what I was going to do was to add more counter spells to Queen, actually. And to Edric I made a few other changes as well. So I now have Mana Leak and Memory Lapse in here both, and as you can see, it completely dominated that game. It seems especially good when you're also running like Isochron Scepter. Not good when they cast an instant on your turn that you have to counter. You lapse it and then they draw it and cast it again, and oh well, like, disenchant. But particularly like obnoxious when in pretty much every other case if you do happen to get a lapse under a scepter. So Steam Augury being the next most awesome card in this deck, most recent addition. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game, and we'll see you next time.